Hello and welcome to another episode of the Growing Pains podcast, where I speak to business leaders and founders about the challenges of growing and scaling their businesses. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by Brett Riley, the CEO and founder of Itarmi, and we'll be discussing the challenges of scaling a global team that is largely remote. Firstly, a very warm welcome to you, Brett. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, nice to be here, Harry. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries at all. So, to just ease us in, I suppose it'd be great to hear about the journey to date for Itarmi and how and why you built it to where it is today.
Yeah, sure. So the whole idea comes from Uber, actually. I was in New York going back 11, 12 years ago, delivering or positioning services for my then employer, which was CDW, which is a large channel value-added reseller. We were presenting to BlackRock Finance about their big HPE rollout at a global level. And on my way to that meeting, I was in a yellow cab. And as I do, I was interrogating the yellow cabbie about his business model and how he was doing in the with these 35,000 Ubers that had arrived in New York overnight. And he simply replied that he had lost 10% of his earnings. And I just couldn't get my head around it. I was asking him, well, how's that possible? It's double the amount of cabs in New York. And he said, well, I just work an extra 2 hours on a Saturday and I get my money back. And then I said, well, it still doesn't make any sense. And he said, well, if you think about it, he said, it's the same service, but a different market. And basically Uber created a market within a market. And I thought about IT technicians, contractors, consultants globally, and the challenges that the channel is still very relevant today, still has not been solved, about finding great people around the world, using a technology to work out their capability, their technology stacks, their certifications, and then hooking them direct into customers and service providers to actually deliver their services. So, and really focusing around four things: scaling, risk associated. So, who's your engineer? Where they're based? Can you geolocate them? Can you see their certifications and skill sets? So, risk and compliance. Service, can you control the service and can you deliver a great service? So, using technology to do that. So workflows, checking in, checking out. And then the last thing is commercial. So could we bring a model to the world where we could charge based on utilization? So, if someone's on site for 2 hours, could you charge for 2 hours? If someone's on site for 4 hours, could you charge for 4 hours? And the technology measures and manages all of that. And then, then I walked out of that meeting. I wasn't really that effective in that meeting because I was thinking about my impending business plan, and then started to put all this together, which took another 2 years of wireframes and building it out, and then finally launching the business in the April of 2017. Yeah, and that's the startup, and that's how it started. That's where the whole idea came from.
And in regards to then sort of launching it and getting it out there, what did you find were the most challenging aspects of hiring effectively this global workforce and marketing yourself in so many different ways?
Yeah, I think there's, I look back on the journey and I think about founders when they're starting businesses and the many mistakes I've made. And, I thought that I've got a great idea. Uber was in vogue. Deliveroo was around and in vogue. I thought, well, I can go and speak to some private equity, family offices, VCs. I raised some money, some pre-seed finances or financing, and people are going to back me because I've got all this experience in the industry, great customers I've dealt with, done some decent big deals, and they all just looked at me with a blank face. So Fundamentally, we had to build a business out of winning business and then investing in our technology. So um, network is massive. Like who you know, where you know them from, and who are you going to be your first seed customers, I think were key. And we were literally using LinkedIn and spreadsheets and then connecting with engineers. So, I need Cisco switches installed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Can you find me a Cisco CCNP? And you looked at them and think, oh my God, is that like finding a needle in a haystack? And as true as Bob, there were people in Addis Ababa with CCNP capability, and all we had to do was onboard them effectively, make sure that they had their technical certs and skill sets, and then sell their time to deliver that solution. And we started winning business and making money like that. And then it wasn't long before we would, and it was amazing that this problem of people not knowing where people were and what they were capable of is a global phenomenon. So, what people don't know is what they don't know. So NCR, which is, a massive organization, and they had 15,000 field engineers, couldn't deliver in certain regions. And we found their problem and solved their problem. And we didn't need technology to do that. We literally did it manually to start off with, but that's how it worked. And then we reinvested the profits that we made into our vision, which has been a vision that's had to stay the course, of building apps in the App Store with a SaaS platform where everyone's hooked into to then deliver and build this community of capability across so many technology stacks. And I think there's a lesson. You choose a product that you're going to sell and you're going to build, then make sure your market's big enough, make sure that there's problems that you're solving, and you can sell it and you can make money out of it, and then you've got a business.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of things will have changed in that time, but you talked about the importance of onboarding.
Yeah.
How much has that process evolved and been kind of critical to keeping consistency?
It was in a massive Achilles heel for us at the start, and it's two-sided, right? You've got engineers that need to trust you as a new business, that are going to actually deliver work for you because they don't trust many people. The nature of their personalities are they're not really up for risk. Okay. And then on the other side, you've got a traditional market that doesn't believe that independent or freelancers or contractors have cultural benefit or tie and no accountability, all of the sort of pushback that I've had. And even today, there's a few that have come back and said, oh, we only employ engineers directly. And there's some great people that are freelancers, independents that have their own businesses. So at the outset, there was a lot of pushback, and when you're in a services business, you've got to build reputation and you've got to build a capability to deliver. And I think that takes time. And even now, to this date, 9 years later, we still bump organizations that are still working on the credibility and all of that sort of stuff. And the process in the early days was quite tough because we had to technically vet them. We had to make sure and review their personal details like passports and CVs. Do they have the right to work in a certain region? All of the things from a compliance perspective. And that was all manually done. So the vetting and onboarding and the background checks are very important to start off with, because the other thing is you cannot miss on delivering a service for someone that's remote. So, they've got your scopes of work, your pre-site validation, all of the mature stuff you do before implementing technology, run books, all of that sort of stuff you've got to do. And luckily, I was able to contract people that I'd worked with in the industry for some time to be able to fulfill that from an operational perspective. And, our pre-sales guy, long time. I mean, he can do anything, and basically he was very important in getting all of that sort of stuff in the early days set up so that we could actually deliver a good service for our customers. So, I mean, nowadays everything is visible on our app. We're using background checking organizations like Accurate to do background checks and DBS checks and validation. So, compliance from that perspective. And then your technical vetting is still done face-to-face based on scopes of work and the technology we're deploying. But also with the AI agents and agentic AI that's coming in, there seems to be a massive move towards that. We use a bit of both. So it's not prescriptive. The other big thing that we've and we still to this day run by is that technology that is risky to deploy, inevitably we won't engage on, or we always took on technology that was sort of plug and play to start off with, so that we could build up a reputation of delivering, as opposed to, and technology evolved over that period of time. It's evolved so much more software defined. You could plug a laptop with a console cable in, and then the second and third line drop on. In the old days, I say old days, only 15 years ago, that was never the case. The engineer had to be fully skilled to actually deliver that capability on site. So you didn't have that remote capability. Now most organizations have that. So your risk of deployment has become a lot less. So you can use people that are eyes on site, IMACD, so they can, as long as you can get eyes on site, inevitably you've got the technical capability to do the IP adjustments and any software updates and stuff remotely. And that's been the model. Anyone that's of a like design or architect or someone like that, then it's also not just about capability, but it's about culture. So what organization, they need to get on with them. They need to agree with their design, their methodology, their way of doing things. So that means that the customer needs to meet the engineer, and you've got to get that chemistry going in order to, so we don't get in the way of that. We let that happen, and we let our customers get access to them, and then they can make the decision, and then they're part of that process. So then it's like, well, if it didn't work out, well, we've both interviewed and we both got it wrong. And that works really well. And I think that, because you can never be 100% accurate, but fundamentally, I think it works really well, and we deliver successfully like that. And now and again, we get it's either work ethic or, they're a bit slow, or, then that's when we have to then react and then help replace or help our customer out to make sure that we get the project or whatever work stream they've got over the line.
And the team is in the thousands of engineers in many countries. How have you found that you've had to do much marketing out to engineers? Because obviously you've got to get the right people.
So there is a lot of word of mouth, but also we've got our own recruitment and resourcing team. So we'll recruit if there's a gap in a specific project or support contract, or we'll get our team to recruit for that contract in a specific country. So, and we try not. We're not a marketplace platform or organization where people just sit on the books, and we try and make sure that everyone is earning something. And I think that's key to two things. One, for loyalty, and the second is, there's a few things: loyalty, culture, and then accountability. I think those three things really help when you're delivering, and also you get to know people. So some of our engineers have been delivering from day one with us and are still delivering for us across the globe. And I think that's key. And also, the brand Itarmi is about the brother and the sister working together. It's about your colleagues. It's about, what are you prepared to do as an army of people that are disciplined, that are focused, that are structured, and are all rowing in the same direction with the same objective in mind. And that's why we called it Itarmi. And then the wolf avatar, which you'll see in the background behind my head, is about that family hunting as a pack. We feed together, we hunt together, the weak travel in the front, the strong at the back. It's about looking after each other. And when you've got a disparate team of people around the world, they've got to feel like they belong to a movement, like they belong to a culture. And that really helps to, they become part of our wolf pack, as we call it. And it's a family feel about how we do. And there's a lot of engineers. Yesterday I had an engineer that's moved from, he's been working for us for a long time, from Israel to Canada because of the political situation. He's moved his whole family to Canada, and he wanted references, and to set up, and he's doing some AI course in the university and all that sort of stuff, and very smart man. And we were able to help out because we've got this history with him and his delivery with us in a difficult place, and understand his culture, and understand, and he's got all of this relationship with us. And we were able to do that sort of thing. So it's not just about making money and global expansion and global domination. It's about helping engineers get access to the great brands in this world: the Visas, the Nikes, the Louis Vuittons, the Shells, all of these famous organizations that have grown globally, and they're getting experience that they would never have had if they hadn't have bumped us. And I think for me, to get that sort of stuff on their CV, for them to expand on their capability, to build the relationships at a global level, and be able to pay dollars and pounds and into places that are literally have got no revenue internally, but it's international Western money or European money going into those countries is great. That's a phenomenal thing. And even if I never am successful in this business and we don't achieve our goals or mindsets for a period of time, I know that we were able to help people within the globe, and that I can take to the grave, because we've supported these families and people through the pandemic, through war, through all sorts. So there's a hell of a powerful story behind just being a business. It's about looking after the people in the business and those that belong to a community, and I think that's been a massive something I didn't see coming, but it certainly, with the stories and with what's been achieved, it's pretty amazing.
I think it takes one to have the other, right? So it sets you apart quite significantly to have that much time invested into making sure, just going back to one of the things you said, firstly, that people have work. I think there are a lot of platforms people can sign up to, be part of, where they sort of think, well, I might be part of 3 or 4 of these because I don't know if I'm going to get anything through. It's kind of, where's the interest on the other side in actually furthering my contribution to this channel? So putting in the time and the effort to make sure that people feel invested in pays dividends on the other end, because you are much more confident in who will turn up, presumably, for the work that they're then doing with a key client of yours.
Yeah.
So it goes in circular ways.
Yeah, and the loyalty and the commitment and the customer service you get from that will far outweigh any directly employed employee you'll ever have. Like, it is unbelievable, because it's their business, it's their livelihood. So, we have partners. We've got a partner program where we've got partners that have direct, and I'm not being in any way critical, but I've just seen what it's like when someone hasn't had food or hasn't had work for 6 or 7 weeks, and you give them 3 weeks at $50 an hour, and they're in Zambia. I've seen the effect. So that is just, and they are like, it's amazing what it does. And all of a sudden we just get lit up with requests coming in and people signing up through our apps, and because it's like the Bush Telegraph, it just goes absolutely wild. They say, right, well, and the thing is, capability is one thing, trust, loyalty, that quadrant where people sit, you'd rather have that any other day of the week than someone that's honest, that really wants to put it in and then goes and delivers on site. Might not be the best technically, but you'll support them and your customers will support them. One of our lead engineers, and I'll talk about Ethiopia at the moment, she a Muslim lady, based out of Ethiopia, and she delivers for Visa on the behalf of NCR, and she was voted their top field engineer throughout the whole of EMEA, and we found her, and that is going somewhere. They loved her, and she looked after the Bank of Ethiopia, all of those, and difficult environment. And also, if you look at that part of the world culturally, she had everything going against her, yet was customer service, technical proficiency and efficiencies unbelievably amazing. And that is, that's what we're there for. We're there to find those gems, and then we're there to expose them to the big corporates and organizations globally, which can then take advantage of their capability and their customer services and support their businesses in whatever region they are. And that's the underlying business model. It's right there. Whether we use apps or whether we use a SaaS platform and we've got our own teams managing them, it's about them and the customer. And that's the underlying business operating model, business strategy, whatever you want to call it. It's really that simple.
And that becomes your most powerful marketing tool, both amongst engineers, as you say, word of mouth, but also with clients as well, that delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can go onto our LinkedIn and the IT Army's LinkedIn, and you'll see the engineers commenting. And then there's nothing better. Like customers comment. Customers normally send in emails. They don't put stuff in public. Like, oh, well done. But an engineer, they don't care. They'll just say, oh, thanks IT Army for a great introduction, or they'll put, because they're expanding, they need to expand their client base. So it's about marketing themselves as well. It's about saying, look, I've done a great job for IT Army. Someone else speak to me, because the model is that the more we can keep them in utilization, the better. So whether our competitors use them or not is irrelevant to me. And they say, well, why have you got that attitude? Surely you don't want your competitors to have your IP. Well, yes and yes and no, but fundamentally, I think that if you're a good organization with good people internally, like we've got, then back yourself, back your brand, it's not about the engineer out in the field. It's about how you conduct yourself as a company. And I think that is, and the relationships you build. That if you're bad at building relationships, well, then your competitors are going to take your business. And that's just whatever you do. So, I think that is a key fundamental for us. And yeah, and I'm not intimidated by competitors taking our engineers, or because if they are being utilized, it's better for us, because then he's going to be free or she's going to be free on that specific day, and then I can utilize them again. If they're permanently employed somewhere, I'm not going to be able to get hold of them. So I want them to be utilized. I want them to be used. So, and also it's better for them. And yeah, so and it's amazing how honest and transparent they are with us, because we're like that. They'll tell us anything. This person's approached us. Are you okay for us to do work with them? Even if it's money, they tell us, and it's unbelievable. Because we're like we are, they feel that they can trust us to tell us this sorts of stuff, which is key to the success of what we're trying to deliver.
Absolutely. And so turning your thoughts to the next 12 months, what are the growth plans for you?
So it's, I think, the business, we had investment come into us in 2022. We had a seed round of just shy of 2.5 million come in. So we've been focused quite heavily on building our technology out, expanding sales and revenue, which is thankfully happening. Difficult part of first 6 months of 2025 was a bit weird with Trump's tariffs and all of that going on. So the business grew, but not significantly. But since June last year, it really has taken off. So I personally, I built this business waiting for this time to happen, which is the deployment of technology at scale. And when I looked at this business, I always felt there was a massive event going to happen, like the Industrial Revolution, and that's what AI is. So when organizations were cutting their field forces and saying there's too many headcount, and then I thought, we've got problems, because in a few years' time they're going to be back. And I could see the start of what was going on. And it's one of the reasons why I've built this business, not just with freelancers, independents, and contractors, but also with partners and their own dedicated heads, because I could see the capacity was going to be a problem. So I think organically, and already we've seen large scale projects with large organizations kicking off. January is always a bit iffy because people are still, but from February, the organic growth is going to be really exciting to see because, and then it's just about me making sure that I'm got the internal capacity to manage the outcome and the process properly rather than having people burn and fall over. And I think that's a biggie. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, it's all about metrics. So, how healthy is our EBITDA? Where are we sitting from a momentum perspective? So top line, and then, do we take on more funding? Do we acquire? And, there is stuff like that potentially in the pipeline, but the fundamental metric is just making sure that we're consistent at making money for the first 6 months at least before we even think about something like that. Something could change. You don't know, and you might lose business, you might win business, but pipeline is certainly healthy. I'm very keen on the States. Potentially opening up an office or something out of the States, and I'm busy sussing out different angles to do that. I think 70% of our revenue comes from American customers, so there just seems to be, whether it's good or bad with Trump, but there's momentum in that economy, and I think that they're just in a better space than most places. So, and with that means that there is expansion of their businesses into other markets and et cetera, et cetera. So, a huge opportunity out of the States. And then we've finally completed developing our SaaS platform. When I say it's a sellable product from in October last year. So, something an organization can take and really do what we've done. We've built the SaaS product over 7 or 8 years now. The 140,000 engineering visits going through it, refining it, working on cultures, 16 time zones, 81 different languages. It really is something that acts and sits like a middleware between your ITSM ServiceNows and your supply chain. And I think organizations can really use it to take advantage of global market trends as far as engineering or IT engineering is concerned, and technology stacks that they're delivering. So we're gonna commercialize that's and it's ready to go to market. So there'll be a big focus on me growing that, and whether that actually gains some traction, and then potentially a series round for that to grow that some more might be in the offering. So, but it's got to prove itself first. It's still we're still loading the boats, ready to cross the channel with that lot before we hit France. It's still it's tested with us, and it's a great product, and it's what runs our business. But it's not to say that it's right for everyone. But yeah, so that's those are the plans. Okay.
Fantastic. I just wanted to pick up on something that's, I guess, a theme through all of this, but certainly something you said. And that was the timing of the event. You didn't know the specific one of it, but I guess the position you ended up being in, where it was revenue first, make sure the business can survive. How important do you think it is to not give yourself such a small window to be successful, but actually to make sure that you're still there, you're robust, and you've built to the right point when
Yeah.
that big event happens?
I think, and maybe social media is, and just the way that we maybe glamorize unicorn status. I think in you see these organizations are pre-seed 2 billion, not revenue generating. We know this has been the culture over the last 10 years of, and it's great. Look, there's some super awesome businesses. I've seen a lot that have had $200 million worth of funding go bankrupt. I've seen, so I think it's key that any founder, and look, there's only a small percentage that do this, right? That when they get to that number, and I think you've got to keep your business fundamentals and what you're looking to do in line with not going to say traditional, but you need to make sure that you've got the basic principles of a product, and that you can make money from it, and you can sell it, and you can make margin, and you can actually live off it before you then have aspirations of this, and some technology is so phenomenal that yes, you can, but I'm just saying 99% of businesses aren't going to be like that. So you've got to be prepared to be in that 99%, and you've got to be prepared to wait your time. And then the other thing is that it's just about being consistently, the stickability, hanging in there and waiting for your time. So the patience to wait for your time for this to happen. And I think that's the key thing. And I'm not saying that this 5 years, this might never happen for us. Can I get this business to a reasonable exit and make money from it? Absolutely. But can I scale it to 100, 200, 250, 300, 400 million? Who knows? That's the Hail Mary, and that's what you want to aim for. But I'm not going to say it's going to happen. And you've got to have the right people, the right team, the right product, at the right time. And I think that if anything I've learned is patience, and I'm extremely impatient. If I looked at my financial models 8, 9 years ago, I'm embarrassed with what I put in front of VCs, private equity. No wonder they must have been laughing walking out of those meeting rooms. But I think like they say, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, and that's Mike Tyson's quote. So I just think that you've got to always be ambitious, be consistent, but don't ever give up. That's the biggest thing. But also just be a realist as well. I don't want to, and people who listen to this thinking, crikey, that's strange you hearing from that. But I can honestly tell you that as much as I've planned, even now I'm planning for stuff, and probably only 10% of it's going to come off. 90% will not. And I've launched products, I've launched different verticals, and like most of them don't work out, but I just don't stop trying. And I think that's, Michael Jordan, or I can't remember, Kobe Bryant, or one of them just said, right, well, look how much I fail every time I shoot at the hoop. I shoot at the hoop 3 times more than anyone else. And the reason my stats are so high is because I'm getting 1 in 3, but you're shooting only the third, and you're only getting 1 in 3 of those. And it's, yes, they're good basketball players, but at the same time, they risk it. They're testing, and some of them are going to land. And that's the way I view things and the way I think of things.
I think that's some fantastic advice to end on, and I think really, really useful to other people who might be earlier in their journey than you, and that's the sort of thing that they need to hear. So thank you very much for sharing that with everybody. Thanks very much for coming on to the podcast.
No, thanks very much, Harry. Thanks for inviting me. And hopefully it's of use to anyone out there, and maybe it'll either save you a lot of time, a lot of money, or at least keep you sticking to the journey. And I think, that's what it's about. It's just, hanging in there. Keep going.
Brilliant. Thanks, Brett. An inspirational quote for the new year for everybody. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.